What's up, fellas?
Good
Hey,
evening.
hey,
Good
Going
evening.
on?
How's it going?
Doing well, doing well.
Me too.
Back for another week.
back for another week, fellas.
We are
Yes,
back.
it's good to be back. You know,
Yeah,
we ain't been we,
Always.
ain't, we haven't been canceled yet, so that's good.
yeah, that is
You
a good
know,
idea. That is a good thing that has not happened.
we might have to get more controversial so we can offend some people.
Hey, I'm always ready.
Yeah, right.
I'm always ready.
Nobody
Been
wrote
trying to,
YouTube and say, take these people down.
Ah,
yeah. But so we are back again for another edition of the Knowledge and Power podcast with Nathan Hall,
What's up?
Jeremy J. Harris, and
hey,
me, Ray McKinstry. So welcome to our guests, first
Hey.
timers, the ones who have been supporting us for a minute now. We appreciate you.
yeah.
And we have a really good topic tonight. Personally, I think that all of our topics are pretty good because they're pretty much birthed out of conversations that me and the fellas have
Yeah.
at some point in time or throughout the week. So they're organic and they mean something.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we know that they're relevant to life or we're going through something personally
Right.
that we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yep. So the topic that we will be hitting on tonight is called Unpacking Forgiveness. And we do have a guest with us tonight that is going to help us approach this subject matter, and we're not going to tackle it alone. But before we do that, let's quickly just kind of give just any important news, anything happened. How's the family? How's it going in Muskegon? What's going on in the big LA Lansing? What's
Yeah.
up, fellas?
I do have some awesome news.
All right.
Congratulations are in order. As of this morning, 8 a.m.,
Okay.
I have a grandson.
What?
Oh,
That is
Yeah.
news.
Grandpappy,
Yeah.
once again.
Once again. So
As
That's
of
all
this
right.
morning.
as of this morning,
Who's baby
Which
we
which
talking?
which one is it?
Naquan,
Naquan.
yeah,
Naquan out there doing it.
Wow.
had a young,
No,
a
no
little
pun
young,
intended. No pun intended. He out
yeah,
there doing it.
a little
Oh,
This
young
is
like
this
bundle
is
it.
second
today
child.
down
So
in
what
Florida.
boy, girl?
You said
Oh boy,
grandson.
grandson. Yeah,
Okay,
What's the grandson's name again? I'm sorry.
his name
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
is Zaire. He's got 4 names: Zaire, Ezekiel, King, Bose.
Wow. That's
Dude,
a
man,
So
mouthful.
first of all, I want to applaud you as a granddad to remember
Yes.
all those
I
names.
know they had to
You
come. I
First
had to
day.
think for a minute.
You
you
got a
doing
cue
it, Jake.
card in front of you or something, man? Remember that?
You see how I named them one by one?
Wow.
Well, tell
That's good,
Naquan
Jake.
we said congratulations, man. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
real
Right.
good.
So he's a double father now.
right.
Yeah. So I was gonna put you on the spot and ask you a question that most people wouldn't think that granddaddies would remember, but since you did such an awesome job with that long name, I'm not gonna even ask you how much does he weigh and how many ounces.
Hey, I got it. It
You
was
got it.
yeah.
Man, shake
Go
out
for it,
to my
Jake.
granddad.
Make us look good, bro.
Do it,
Make us
Jake.
look good.
Do it, Jake.
My wife will have to correct me if I'm wrong. 6 pounds, 11 ounces. I do
Ooh,
There
believe.
you go. That's
that's a
nice,
juicy
man.
baby.
Thank God
Yeah,
for him
Small
entering
turkey.
into
yeah.
the world safely. That's good. That's
I
good,
meant to
man.
send you guys a picture earlier, but it was too much going on. So
Congratulations, Jake.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now
You
you know
got some.
your wallet's going to be impacted even the more.
Oh,
Yes.
We got some. We got some guests saying good evening, congratulations,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
congratulations. That's awesome. Um, boy, when you get in trouble, his parents going to call all his. That's funny. When he get in trouble, his parents going to call his whole name. That's a
The
mouthful.
whole name.
Right,
I think by the time they get done calling that name, they're gonna be like, you know what, just go on.
right,
Punishment forgiven. Just go on.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's going
no.
on your way, Nate?
Yo, man, we celebrated Michelle's birthday on
Oh
Friday.
yeah,
Yeah,
And so she had a happy birthday. It was her birthday.
that's
that's
right.
good.
She
That's
had a
awesome.
sash on and a crown
Did
Ah,
she really?
all day.
She was queen.
She was hamming it up, bro. We went to after much back and forth, we decided to go on dinner. When I say back and forth, her trying to figure out what she wanted to do. We finally ended up going to dinner, and we had a good time, man. It was her birthday, and you know, in our household, we celebrate all month long, especially the week of.
Okay.
So she's been getting love from, you know, her family and everything, you know, for the whole month of February. And then so we sent her off to visit her sister and her mom in Atlanta. So that's where she is now, enjoying the better weather that they have
Yeah.
than we have here in Michigan. Yeah, she sent me some video footage of her mom was frying some chicken, grilling some chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs, blueberry muffins in the oven. They about to be grubbing, bro.
Going all out.
That wasn't even the sides. I don't know what the sides are, but they about to be grubbing. And I'm about to hit this buttered bread up when we get finished.
Dude, I would say go ahead and fire it back at them. If there's any snow left in your backyard, go to that deck, grab the grill, throw you some legs on there.
It's too cold.
That's okay, man. Just let them know.
Right.
And have on your apron and your shorts, man.
Oh my God.
In the snow.
I have hypothermia. Right. I have to make her come home early.
And Atlanta has nothing on Lansing.
Yeah, man. That was my week. I got to see some family members too in Detroit this Saturday. So it was good to see moms and cousins and some aunts. And I hit up White Castle.
Oh,
White Castle, baby. White Castle. I can't go to Detroit without bringing back some White Castle. I paid for it. When I say I paid for it, I mean my stomach,
always pay
my
for it.
gastrointestinal system paid the price, but it was worth it. It was so good. They made them to perfection.
All right, man. I gave up those babies a long time ago. You can't do White Castles be on this side of 50, man.
Never will, man.
Actually, I don't think you can do White Castles. You on that side of 13, 14, or 20.
Whatever, man.
They are just horrible,
White Castle to the day I go.
Oh, wow.
They don't sit well.
No, it don't, Jake. It don't sit well. Oh my God.
So we are you know, attacking a good conversation tonight about forgiveness. And it's such a broad topic that we can go anywhere with it. I think it's unfair that we are going to try to do our best, though. But I think it's unfair to try to squeeze so much dialogue into this short segment, understanding, unpacking, and just kind of dialoguing about the word or the term unforgiveness. I mean, forgiveness. Yeah, forgiveness. So, so I think I don't want to hold up much time, but I just want to ask a quick question before we introduce our guest. Have you guys ever, do you guys ever remember something that happened in your life that really impacted you in the sense where you struggled with it, or it changed, I don't know, the trajectory of how you saw things or see things with that particular person when it came down to having to forgive them? And did you forgive them or not?
Most definitely. I think I can say a resounding yes to that question.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I think it's something that, I think every day in life, as we go through life, it's going to be something that happens where we're going to be presented with the opportunity to either forgive or keep it moving. And not forgive per se. Well, that's what that keep it moving means.
Right.
Because people offend us. I don't think it's a day that goes past that we're not offended by something that someone does, especially those closest to us. And then we can look at it a different way by saying, are they really offending us, or are we just in our feelings?
Oh, the feelings are strong.
Easily just disturbed by their response to whatever it is that we're talking about. So, those are true feelings to explore. But I want to bring up two things before we bring out our guest. And there is because this is a important subject to me, because with my jobs, you always have those icebreakers, and they always say, if you could have one superpower, what do you think it would be?
Okay.
Have you guys ever been asked that question before?
I have not.
I have.
Okay. So what did you say, Jake? I'm just curious.
I wanted the superpower of being invisible at will.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Well, I always say it, and it's the same always. I always say I think that if I were to have superpowers, or if I say that I do, it's the ability to love and forgive.
Ooh.
And that's a superpower.
Yeah,
But
that could be
here's
considered a superpower. Sure would.
But here's the thing, man, and obviously, like I'm giving Superman a little ranking or a little notice tonight because he ain't my boy. Batman's my boy, but Superman has his kryptonite to his strength to weaken him. And I know I would say, unforgiveness or people always just testing you and trying you has sometimes been my kryptonite. And but if that's who you think that you've been designed to be, a person that's loving and forgiving, then you got to push past all that nonsense of what others may do to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So that being said, tonight we have a special guest. This person has a master's in family studies, family education. She's a family and life educator, equips and empowers family members with the skills and knowledge to enhance their well-being and strengthen interpersonal relationships. Oftentimes, she does the one-on-one with an individual or with couples, and she focuses on dating, engaged or married couples, teaching them tools that promote growth and change. That being said, I would like to bring to the Knowledge and Power screen and ask our guests to welcome our guests.
Hey, everybody.
Jeanena Wilson. Jeanena Wilson.
Hey.
Clap it up for her. Welcome to the
Hey.
podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep. So we are just talking about forgiveness, and we had a lot of people that kind of came up in mind, but somehow we narrowed it down to we thought you would be a good person to deep dive into this conversation.
Well, that's an honor. I appreciate it.
Yes,
I think I don't have a problem with work with all dudes. So I'm good with that. So
Can you handle that? Can you handle
Oh,
us?
dude.
I can handle that. I have a reputation, so it's okay.
All right.
Yeah. So let's just get started because our time escapes us so quickly.
Now, can I say this before we get started, Ray? Can I say this real quick?
Go for it, bro.
This is an important conversation, so we want people in the audience, those of you who are watching, please take part in the comment section. We want to hear from you. If you have any questions, please put in the comment section so we can answer your questions when we get near the end of this conversation. Please share, bring people along with you, let them know what we're talking about, and give us a thumbs up, let us know that you like what you're hearing.
And subscribe.
Thank you, Jake. I always get that. Subscribe is most important. Yes. All right. Thank you, Jake. Yeah. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. So we're gonna jump right in. So I'm going to ask you if it's. I said earlier how it's going to be difficult to try to unpack this conversation into this little small segment, small podcast. But one of the things I want to ask is, what is forgiveness out the gate? How do you unpack it? How do you simplify it so that we can, I guess, understand it?
First, I don't think forgiveness can ever be simplified because it tends to be associated with the condition or the circumstances that forgiveness is going to be necessary.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure we can simplify it. It's a huge topic because it's so broad. I think that's what you said earlier. But forgiveness, when we think about psychology or we think about health, is the bottom line. The simple point to that is so you can be healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. But to get to that point, because sometimes if you have been living with unforgiveness for so long, or areas that you may have dismissed or put away, you don't know that. You don't know that, what's needed. But the bottom line is, if it ever comes up and the decision is made to not to, then there's other conversations that can take place. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. And you also kind of, I'm going to segue here, guys. I'll let you jump in after this, fellas. when you talked about people can live with it, unforgiveness, for so long. That triggered something that I came across from a Dr. Frederick Luskin. He is the director of Stanford University's Forgiveness Project. And this man has actually made a life for the past 20 years of just talking about and exploring the subject of forgiveness. So I want to just kind of read a statement that he made to you and see if you can kind of chime in and give your, I think I sent you the video just so, you could hear it. Dr. Luskin said that because people struggle with gratitude and compassion and have defects in these areas, they are then able to make their unforgiveness seem normal. And he says, since they make it seem normal, they then don't work hard at trying to change how they feel.
I can understand that. He's probably going to go much deeper, has gone much deeper than I would because of my time. But one thing, if you challenge with gratitude and appreciation, that's a place of thankfulness. That's also a place of being thoughtful and considerate. So you deal with forgiveness. Forgiveness at times is really for you, but also in the process of forgiveness, you have to want to be considerate. It also, depending on the situation, it will require empathy. So those things connect. So if you I don't have to be that thankful or appreciative of whatever someone is doing or saying, then you're not going to be, it becomes easier to hold unforgiveness. And it definitely depends on it definitely depends on the situation. So one of the things, I know you didn't mean to buy it, but sometimes when we talk about, I'm going into something, I'm sorry, before, if you wanted to have another question, should I stop?
No, go for it.
Go ahead.
Please continue.
So sometimes when we think about forgiveness, well, many times we think about the world or non-Christian or non-believer. I think there's two worlds. Well, the believer forgives this way and the non-believer forgives this way.
Wow.
That's something that I don't know if that's taught or presumed or assumed because of the world of Christendom or Bible believers, what they hear oftentimes versus non-Bible believers. But the process or the impact or the effect on people is still human impact. It's just that people who are Bible believers, we have some additional tools that we may employ or apply to help us navigate a situation or offense. That makes sense?
Yeah, because that was going to be one of the questions that I was going to ask. Is there a difference between biblical and secular?
Well, people may have made a difference, but the process, people still get violated and you're a Bible believer. People still get cussed out. People still get houses broken in. They still get accidents. You still get things stolen. So we can still offend. So this idea that because the word of God tells us don't do something or it is translated as get over it, that's really an insensitive way to approach it. So with it, when we want people to be followers of Christ or want people just to do better, because it makes it like you have to be a believer or word of God person to be able to forgive. And that's not true. You have people who know how to forgive and have a sensitivity of forgiveness, and they're not Bible believers. They may be easier to come on in, but they're not necessarily Bible believers. So to have that idea. And the other thing is it definitely, although there's a need to forgive because it's healthier mentally, it frees us from anxiety because that gets into the why, the opportunity to be put together, so to speak, made well or made better. That's the best way I can put it. Those steps of navigating depends on the situation. Some things you just have to rethink about it, meditate on it. So that's not worth holding it. But then the greater the offense, you may need some additional assistance, like the doctor said last week. No matter how they may have have counseled with people, that sometimes they're still not able to stop a person from committing suicide, no matter what work was put in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when it comes to forgiveness, depending on the offense, for us, our approach sometimes can be insensitive and thoughtless. And wanting so much to have the person get over it, to make the offender or the one that did the harm free. So sometimes our approach to it, we may want to think it through, because sometimes, or be sensitive, sometimes the thing that's bothering you or you will get over, somebody else may not have had, may not be able to do that. You may have it only happen to you one time. This person may have experienced it 20 times. And so sometimes when we talk about forgiveness, we can send a nonverbal or insinuate, get over it. And that's a real sensitive approach. You know, even when we're dealing with communities of people or the racial situations or issues that we're having now, not just in the Black and white world, but just in other communities, to say, okay, forgive them and get over it. But many times, or oftentimes, it's so the other person can feel better. And I don't want you to keep reminding me of the mess I made, or reminding me that you're struggling. I don't want to keep hearing that. I don't have those issues, so I'm tired of hearing about it. And we can have that behavior in any kind of way. But I hope that probably made sense. Yeah. If not, I'm not clear, just ask me, because I
have a question about it. Is getting over it or getting past it forgetting it when you forgive?
Good question, Jake. Good question.
That's good.
That's a good
question.
So
one thing about forgiveness doesn't mean your brain stops working. It doesn't mean your memory is erased.
And that's a good response.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't even mean that you're gonna stop hurting. It doesn't mean that. So just think of this: if you have a small splinter in your finger, your toe, whatever, small splinter. If it's not dealt with properly, we don't know. It can get infected.
Yeah.
Now, immediately, it's a small thing. It can get infected and it can turn into something big in a slow process, right?
Okay.
Another instance, you can have a huge cut where you lost a finger or almost losing a finger. It can also get infected, just in a quicker process.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Now, forgiveness is the healing, or is the oil or the medication that's put on the wound to slow down the infection part. You follow me so far?
Yeah.
So with the splinter, if you deal with it quick enough, get the splinter out, that healing process, because it's a little small down into the tissues, that healing process will probably be quicker because it's a small gash. Might not even be a gash, just a little pinhole. It can still get infected, but a slower process. But you get that out, put some medicine on it. Hopefully it's not something else that was affected, but you put the medicine on it so it can kill any type of possibility of any infection that could take place, and cover it up, and you're on your way, right? You probably won't forget that splinter was even there. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
So, but in the case of a larger wound, still a wound, the process of those tissues coming back together is longer. So if they try to reattach that finger, you got the nerves, you got the cells, you got time, you got people who are skilled that need to get involved. But all those things are necessary to help it heal and heal well, heal correct. That's what forgiveness is in that case. It's still forgiveness. It's like the healing oil, or the oil, or what's necessary to make it well.
Okay.
Now, when that process, when you're putting that, let's say that finger together, if something goes awry or interfere with the process, or something abnormal goes in, it'll start trying to heal, but it can heal abnormally.
True.
Yeah. I know I'm walking down the street, so hold on. So it can heal abnormally in some instances. Or you may have somebody in staff that didn't enough rest, and then they're not given the right medicine or whatever. So something happens in that big wound doesn't heal properly. They go into the doctor to get it checked out. We can say the consult, whatever, and touching base on that. Right about this time, it shouldn't be still hurting. It shouldn't be still puffy. So they go in, take an x-ray. Oh man, it's not healed properly. They have to open it back up. And perhaps have to go deeper. So the healing, the oil, I keep trying to say healing oil, but the medicine, the tissue, any other thing that's necessary, may have to bring the specialist in, because down underneath might have hit the bone and they didn't know it. So now they're going in with even better tools than before. The healing process still probably be slow. They got to encourage the person, because, oh man, I got to take some more time off work. I can't do this. And tell them the importance of it. All of that is that process. When they go in there, they take the time because they don't want this person to have to continue to be re-injured. And then who is not skilled in this other part of the surgery would need to be removed from the room to make sure that the next one would be better than the first one and it'll heal properly. They probably have to make more appointments to touch it, to see it, to x-ray it. But in the process, they'll say, now it's healing well. Now it's healing well. Now it's healing well. Now that process in that still will probably be painful through it. That answers your question, Sir Jay.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
We have a comment from one of our listeners. She said, forgiveness should bring wisdom. You forgive, but you have wisdom to not make the same mistake. It's not how you forgive toward the person, but the wisdom to not do it again. Thank you.
That definitely depends on the situation. Forgiveness doesn't always bring wisdom, but you need wisdom in the process to forgive, to help you through the forgiveness process. Now, that definitely depends on the situation. Definitely depends. See, right about now, we have a whole lot of things that happen to us or happen to other people, or even we may have done. You said in the introduction, I work with individuals, I work with couples, married, dating, engaged. I done seen a whole lot of foolery, let's say that. And so a lot of times, and I'll use a lot of people do marriage because I deal with that a lot. A lot of times people, because you have so many years under your belt, it becomes this trophy or a tool to brag as if you awesome and wonderful couple. But the world don't know that's some crap. Try to find all my adjectives that some people don't.
Just put it out there. Just put it out there.
So in the process, I won't use profanity, in the process, because it's more important what a couple may appear. I'm just using it as an example. It's true though, how they may appear in front of people, that becomes more important. So opportunities to say anniversaries and all that, it gives people the impression the length of years equal healthy and happy. The next thing up after divorce, we say there's a large number of divorces, but the next high number is unhappily married. That's a huge number too, and it's common. But and a lot of that children birthed in the midst of it is unforgiveness, struggles with forgiveness. There's an agreement or a silent agreement, let's stay together, but I'm not talking about none of it, or I don't want to hear none of it.
Like Will and Jada said, bad marriage for life.
Oh man.
But not to
I'll bring them up.
People dog them out, but not me. And we talking about even believers. Even believers, although you'll be on the bandstand, a dog insulting them, but you won't find a whole lot of believers being as honest as forthright. Now, I have my personal opinion about making it public, but that's their business. They got to live with that. But even still with each other, being willing to be that honest or forthright with each other, in that, as if God doesn't see the mess. So we live these lies, not life. We live these lives to satisfy people. And I know everybody that's watching is not a believer, but for the believers, the thing that we got to remember or should remember is that there's a scripture that says, don't fear him who's able to destroy your body, but fear him who's able to destroy your body and soul in hell. Now that's not what God wants. But we live life more concerned about how we look to people than what God says. So the memory recall is something else. When those feelings come, you have to choose to keep forgiving. That's true. So that whole process, depending on the wound, that's a good one. Depending on the wound. But in it, we have sometimes lived in such a way, we fear the pain of the process of having to be healed properly.
Oh yeah.
We get used to walking deformed.
Yeah, because this world is so put together to to makeshift happiness, wholeness, togetherness. Family should always be right. Friendship should always be right. And I can truly say that we talked about friendship before, and I talked about how we've gone through things, fellas, and there's been some disappointment. There's been some absence away from us talking for some years. But I think that because of how we handled it, because of how we massage ourselves through it, I think we're better for it. And we've been able to forgive and move on and be stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a question to that end, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
On the topic of forgiveness, we often, we see people in the media after, some tragic event happens to their family, someone's killed, someone is injured, whatever the case might be. And the family, is on TV in the courtroom saying, I forgive you for what you did to my son, to my family, to my daughter, to my mother. I forgive you. I forgive you. And those people sometimes get clowned by other folks on the outside looking in saying, they're too quick to forgive. How are they going to forgive somebody that did something to them like that? And I would never forgive anybody who did whatever they did to me. Can you speak on, do we forget two things? Do we forgive too quickly sometimes, or throw the term out too quickly, and we haven't had a chance to really process what happened? And do you think, or can you speak on how people perceive forgiveness as giving another person a pass for what they did, or passing on the power to that person who offended us by us saying we forgive them?
Yeah, that's the interpretation of forgiveness, meaning, again, with I forget, we forget, that gives okay. That means I have bigger thing is that means I have to be back in relationship with you, or it has to be back like it was before. Or if I forgive you, then why do you still want a divorce? Or if I forgive you, why are we still not friends? So some places when you look up the definition of forgiveness, it talks about stopping feelings of anger or stopping feelings of distrust. Sometimes that's an idea of forgiveness, but in other instances, that really isn't the truth, because that could be the case, stopping feelings. But one of the things that's challenging with forgiveness is because your feelings are wrapped up in it. You remember how you felt, and then you want answers to the why. So it depends on the layers of it. Sometimes, and when people start understanding and opening up, well, let me go back to what you're saying in the court case. So in the cases of court, some of those people are really, they're saying, I refuse to let you hold me hostage to what you did. That's what they're saying. And so we don't know these people's lives who get up and say forgiveness. We don't know if they've been practicing forgiveness beforehand. So when the world or social media gets in and make a judgment, and they make a judgment on somebody doing forgiveness too quick, you don't know that person's life. You don't know if they had a lifestyle of forgiveness. You don't know what they're doing. So when we make those judgments about what somebody's doing too quickly, sometimes the effort is saying, I want to release them from the power to control me. That's what they're saying. They're not saying I don't hurt. They're not even saying they said I'm working to not bash your head in while I'm in this courtroom. Wow. And putting the hit on you. See, I've been in them places, especially if it's people you love and care about. Been in those places that is the grace of God that I didn't respond. It didn't go like what I was working the plan to do. However, depending on what it is, forgiveness is still forgiveness. But it's not just a matter of releasing anger and feelings. It's a matter of forgiveness really, really, really is strictly about your will, the will to do the things and let it go. However, the feelings are entangled in that. The feelings are entangled in that. I got one other example. I probably have more before we hang up, but I remember an old mother, she's gone to glory. She was telling me about, I don't eat game food. So she's talking about a coon. And she's talking about when they eat coons and what they have to do. She said, there's a vessel vein that runs through it. Now, I don't even want to see it. And she says, and if you don't cut this vessel out or vein out, it will cause the meat to go bad because of the muscles that run through this particular vein. And so what happens sometimes, the thing happens, so many things are running through the situation that took place, your feelings, your hurts, your memories. And because of that, we struggle with forgiveness because depending on the offense, that's why I said depends on how big. So then you have to incorporate some help. You may have to incorporate some counsel. You may have to incorporate some therapy. Some people, depending on what they call memory recall or arrested development, I know some people heard it in a spiritual term, but it's a psychological term too. Arrested development, depending on the trauma that took place, it could cause that person to be held hostage to that time frame in their life. Like a person may start drugs and they're 13, they may be 50 now. Now in age, I'm a 50-year-old grown woman or 50-year-old grown man. However, the proper development of maturity has been arrested. Its proper development is at a standstill. And so going through those processes of, you may have to incorporate depending on the level of the offense. But forgiveness, again, starts with your will, that you got the will. You can choose to feel with to say, I can forgive them. But working through the process of the hurt, the pain, the devastation, the betrayal is something different. And so that's why some people may say it's 5 steps to healing. Some may say it's 6 steps to healing. Some may say, it's different things that you may look up when you research it. But in the process of it, my biggest thing is I think there needs to be a greater sensitivity in forgiving, a greater sensitivity in it.
So there are no set steps then, because I was going to ask you that as well, since you kind of led into that. So we shouldn't focus on the steps that they lay out, per se.
You can look at it, but I don't agree that that's just the end all be all to it. Right. Don't agree with that. Sometimes people are, you're not telling some family secrets, because if I tell it, it's going to destroy the whole family. So you're willing to live this life, or your children willing to live this life, or your friends willing to live this life in pain, or because I don't want to cause any troubles. That's why you have those deathbed of forgiveness, or things they acknowledge, not forgiveness, deathbed acknowledgements, because they have lived a life hostage to what they did. And when they think about the people, they destroyed their lives, or their or whatever direction that child or adult could have went because of what they did. So we don't know. Just because a person looks like they're walking around doing well doesn't mean that.
That's true.
And that's right. Forgiveness is for you. Stop drinking poison of unforgiveness, waiting for the other person to die. Unforgiveness can literally eat you alive. Yes, it can. It can do that. True. I'm still dealing with the process of it, because it definitely depends on, forgiveness is still forgiveness. But how somebody gets from here to down there, that part in the middle, they got to be willing to. But it's traumatic. But so some things are so traumatic. That's why to present forgiveness as okay, you just got to forgive, and not consider what this person may have experienced. So that's why sometimes it takes some additional help to help you understand. I thought I was okay with this yesterday. I thought I was fine last week. I thought I forgave them, but this thing just came back and choked me out. I woke up with it. You see what I'm saying? So in processes, that's why it's good to have the right counsel, the right support, or the right team. Sometimes you may have that friend while you saying no, willing to kick the door in and saying, you getting up out this bed, I'm throwing all this. You may have to have that, because they know you for real. Now in other cases, people may fight you off so bad that you can't go in, because they may have a gun and say, I'm gonna shoot you if you walk in here, and really will shoot you. So the situations are different. Does that make sense what I'm saying with your question and me answering your question? Does it make sense?
Yeah, that was good.
It makes sense for sure.
I've got another one, if I may.
Yes, you may. my camera may move for a minute, but I'll work it up. But I'm still here.
Okay. We're talking about you kind of just hit on it. Some things that process of forgiveness, the process involved in forgiving. Can you dig in a little bit more? I'm all about practicality. Can you dig in a little bit more with practical tools people can use and employ and implement in the process of forgiving another person? We say you have to forgive, and it's going to be tough, and you've got to go through the process. Can you talk about the actual process? What tools do I pick up and use so that I can be more successful if I want to be in forgiving another person?
Well, one is, I don't know about practicality, because that's definitely subjective, but one is being honest with the fact that you're mad, bitter, angry, hateful, resentful, struggling with revenge or avenge, or I'm already in the process of paying you. I'm figuring out something. It's going to be 5 years from now, but I got something for you. So the first you got to acknowledge that. That's what that I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I don't like them. Then, depending on how long you have not faced it, is what is it that you upset about? Because sometimes we are upset, offended because you were the one that did the thing, but you expected the person to get over it faster, to forgive you faster, and they holding it against you. So I want to deal with things right here. You got two people, whatever, it could be married couples, friends, whatever the case may be. The offender is now get rid for the thing that they did. The person that got offended by it is struggling with forgiving them. The person that offended is said, but I apologize. I said I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, so why you keep bringing it up? So the person who did the offense is putting the offended person on a time frame of how long it takes for you to get over it.
Right.
And the only reason is to make them feel better and relieved. That's selfish. So that's not really, if the person who offended really wants the person, if the person who did the offense is genuinely apologetic, then they, which is the scary part, are willing for that person to do whatever they got to do to get the healing that they need. The challenge with that, so it's not just black and white or cut and dry, especially if working with couples. I would get into that more if I was working directly with a couple. But that person who was got offended has to decide, can I live with this individual? Can I live in this situation with this? And sometimes the decision really to be healthy would be to get out of it. However, you got this other one over here. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. I can't live without you. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I can't, So every situation is different because what's practical may not be practical depending on the situation. You follow me? And I'll give you some more things, but does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So you say it's not just always that blanket. So the thing is it needed? Yes. Is it necessary to be healed and made whole to begin the process? Yes. But the steps to doing that could differ depending on what the situation is. Now, after that, once you acknowledge I'm that way and I thought I was okay, but I'm not, and then what it is, it also cause a halt because it could cause some huge problems if it's ever really dealt with. So, it took me years. I was molested by one of my cousins, but I didn't realize when I was young that it was molestation until I got good and grown. But I didn't feel any sadness, nothing. I didn't feel nothing. I didn't know. I thought it was a game, I thought it was a game. I thought it was, until one day I was someplace and they were talking about it and they were praying. Honestly, prayer says, bring anybody to your memory, Lord, bring somebody to their remembrance that they have to forgive. And immediately this cousin came to my mind. Never had thought about it, never nothing. I didn't feel any grief. I didn't feel any badness. But in that moment when they prayed truthfully, I remembered the whole incident. And then I was like, oh, that was that. So in those places, in it, now then when I started thinking about it, I started remembering the age difference. He's so much older than me. Then I started getting, oh my God. But I had to stop and look, but I wasn't bitter at him because I didn't realize it. But I wasn't around him anymore or anything like that. But the memory of that, I didn't need counseling for that. I didn't. But what it did was it made me like I'm being on this international podcast and I'm publicly saying this. See, I don't have any shame in that, but in some instances, shame comes with it. So you have shame and pain. So yes, I saw one of the brothers say it's a choice, but sometimes the situation has manipulated the freedom of choice where the person doesn't even know they have a choice. Because the pain, the anguish, the shame, the shock, all of that is so wrapped up with the will and the choice. All that is so messed up. That's why it's good to have such things just like what you have right now, because for somebody, it may say, well, wait a minute, that wasn't all right. This gang was bad, or that one time mama came in and she was drunk and she touched me. Okay, but I ain't gonna say that because I got a good mama. Now they 40, 50 years old. You think they want now to be healed of that? Yeah, they need to go tell somebody they do. However, many times they don't. Because how many other family members, why you didn't say nothing? You could have been lying. And then the person who did may still be alive or they may be dead. They may. So it's a lot. You want the uncle, you want to go to the family reunions, and the one don't want to go, and then you're mad. Why won't they go? And we want to say that just happens in the black community. That's not true. It happens in all communities. And the sad part is, the more religious or the more whatever they believe in is greater, the less room for the person to be honest, because the family don't want to deal with the shame and embarrassment of it. I know I'm saying a whole lot. Y'all got me squished in on the topic. He knowing good well, this wasn't gonna be enough time.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because I want to say we have probably about 13 minutes left.
Oh my God.
So I want to make sure that we because we're just being inundated with the chat box, which is a good thing.
That's
I
good.
love to see people.
If you got questions, man, go ahead and light them up.
Yeah. So don't, Jeanena, don't you try to. I don't want you to get distracted when you're in your flow of trying to read what's popping up there. I'm just trying to put.
I do that. I do that. Okay.
So I'll read it out. And
okay. I'll let you read it. I'll let you read it.
And you can comment. But just want to thank everybody once again. If you tune in late, for joining us. Our guest is Jeanena Wilson. She holds a master's in family studies, family life education. So we are unpacking the conversation tonight on forgiveness.
Yeah.
So with that being said, 10 minutes left. Let's try to fill it with some good dialogue to finish out.
You got some questions? No.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I was thinking as I was listening to you, I know there's no time frame for how long it should take a person to, to get to that place of forgiveness. But let's just be real. Let's say one person has dealt with it already and they moved on, and the other person is slow to deal with it. Does it always require you to interface with the person to deal with forgiveness?
No.
Okay.
The only reason sometimes they do is because interfacing with the person is part of releasing the power with that person. I remember one counselor telling me, and I see somewhere people had this idea that doctors don't need doctors, therapists don't need a therapist, coaches don't need coaches. I'm thankful for my community. So a lot of them probably on this channel right now. I'm thankful for my community, for my counselor, for my whoever's God has used to help me navigate while I'm helping other people.
Okay.
So in that process, I remember being told one time, it was in one of my situations, that sometimes having to be in the company of the person who did the violation or the offense takes the healing process longer. If they ever able to. You understand what I'm saying? So when a person decides to go, or they may write a letter, when a person decides to, because now their choice, if they were a good counselor or therapist, that therapist will walk with them through it. Some of them, it depending on like abuse communities, they have people specifically able to go to court with them as a support. So in some instances, it's not safe to confront the person. Sometimes it's not a safety or wisdom to do it. In other instances, they may be able to, sometimes they're not. And it definitely depends on the offense or the violation, because that person has lived, the person who did the offending has lived in such a secret way. There's no way they're going to help you be free by admitting to the world, yeah, I did do that. I did do that. So what happens is, this is one thing with forgiveness, because it stirs up so much. All these people who are going to see us whenever, something is going to trigger somebody about that secret they've been holding. And how I'm going to live with that. This is sometimes why people commit suicide. Some reasons why some people stay on drugs. I remember talking to a young lady whose business was on the streets, if you can follow what that means. And I went to her and I said, this is not what you was created for. So she started talking to me. And in her process of talking to me, it was the process of saying she hated what she had done to her children. And she said she stayed on high what she's doing because she couldn't face what she had done to her kids.
That's wow.
So she didn't want to, that pain was the drugs was tricking her, or she convinced that it was healing. She didn't think it was making her better. See, in her instance, it wasn't making her well. She just didn't want to remember. She didn't want to just keep it reminded. So being sober, that's why we need the therapy. That's why we need help. If we looked and do our own lives, there's things that we done, places that we went, places stuff we did. We hope we don't want people to ever know. But who has been impacted by the things that we did? I'm not talking about the things that people assume or misinterpreted what you did. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about, I'm thinking about my cousin. Well, my cousin he know what he did, but I already know his life is messed up anyway, but he got some struggles anyway, but still in the midst of that. But we're talking about giving people a hope, be it the one that did it, that needs to forgive. But then also we got the offenders, the one that caused people to have to be forgiven, going through the forgiveness. I'm trying to make that make sense. We got the offender and the offended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The violator and the violated.
Right.
And that's who's on this call. Or if it's not them, it's somebody who knows somebody. That's hard to face. So to say there's a time frame, to say there's there's a time frame, to say there's a quick way, acknowledging that, having the courage, you can be free, you can be healed. But there's some depending on what it is. That's why I use the example of the splinter versus your finger being cut off. There's help available.
Yeah.
But when you got to face, you finding out, man, I'm the one that did it. That you did it. But when we stop lying, it's hard because sometimes you done lived a life for so long. I don't even know what the truth is anymore. Read that to me, Ray.
You can't stand there and see the truth as it's looking right back at you. So the question I want to get in is someone just typed in, what if the thing you're trying to forgive is a repeated problem?
So we got, oh my God, Jesus.
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
But we have 2 minutes to answer this.
Okay, I don't know. So here's the thing with that. It definitely depends. One is, okay, if I'm in a relationship and they keep doing it, but depending on what it is, why? I got power. I want to forgive you, and there's some steps I need to take to help me forgive. Sometimes I may need to get out of this, but I'm scared to get out of it because I'm losing I don't know what it is. Let's just say you might own the house and the hill. So I'm going to be homeless. But there are people who have been willing to leave and do whatever they had to do to start the healing process. So if they keep repeating it, there's levels of that. Some things some things we just look over. Okay, I keep asking you to change the doorknob. I'm gonna start hiring somebody to change the doorknobs, and I don't have to be mad anymore. I'll hire somebody. I don't have to be mad. I'm gonna forgive you. I realize that's not your forte. Let me heal myself and you. There's no reason for us to divorce over the doorknob. However, if the doorknob is attached to another person keep coming in here, then that's a whole nother problem. You changing the doorknob is not going to stop it being you welcoming other people in this house. That's the type of different thing. So, so we got to look at you got a freedom to make some decisions. Get the right counsel. The reason I say right counsel, because sometimes there's some bold counsel. Get the right counsel, and they've been willing to do the steps. The steps can be challenging. It can be scary. It can be uncomfortable, but I can tell you for my own personal life, I'm looking at the clock, that it does, some relationships got restored and some don't. Some do, some don't. That's why some people can get back with the person they broke up with and some people don't. I'm never going back to that. It definitely depends. But the person, the individual who has to...
You say some people say they're never going back to that? Is that what you just said?
Some people, you can't get back with your old person, whatever, but some people no. It depends. It really just depends on. It depends on what really went on, the navigations of it. It does, but that doesn't mean because you have a memory of it, because you still may hurt. It doesn't mean you haven't forgiven. You have to now. There's some healing that has to take place. Yeah. But proper and healthy counsel doesn't mean you got mental illness. It doesn't mean you deranged. It doesn't mean you always got to take medication. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean I need to get some help. We can live through it. You can. No, I know there's some things that's diabolical, but people are suffering because they are so afraid to either be exposed or being rejected. And it's but God, I'm sorry, I got to get God in here.
We're all about God.
God is able to heal us of every situation, but sometimes how we want him to heal doesn't fit. That's why some people, sometimes that's why some people are willing to, go to prison to set them free.
Yeah.
You the one that got me in here these short minutes.
Okay, let me read this. Let me read this. It says, forgiveness is a decision a person makes through the process. The outcome is healing for that individual. The person can choose healing or complete healing or complete healing in every area in their life. So
they sound like they summed it up. Go on with yourself. Thank you so very much.
So last question I have before we shift to closing out is, let's just say we're talking about, let's just say we say that we're walking in forgiveness, but every time we have to come around an individual who we're saying we forgive, there's an avoidance. Who does
the avoidance?
The person who claims that they've forgiven, that they're walking in forgiveness, that it's a thing of the past, I got no issues, but there is an avoidance, that they don't respond to any type of reaching out or closure. I know that's a word that some people hate, but can that person really say that they're walking in forgiveness, that if they don't want to interface at all, period? If they just happen to be in the same room with the person.
Well, that person who's doing the forgiveness, if they really want to be healed, they will continue to unpack that. Sometimes for their own healing and safety, they may have to avoid, but that's not a life you want to continue to live. So, but for a little while, it definitely depends on what it is. For peace sake, you may have to do that. Things that may be conjuring up, so that's why proper counseling is good. So that's sometimes that may be the case, but it's not it. That lets them know you still got some more layers. You got some more steps that you got to take to deal with that. Because if it's in your power now, you don't want to just live in a box. I don't think that's a good idea because we're so fearful of what somebody may do. But getting the extra help, those extra tools, medications, not real medication, like with the sample I gave with the surgery of the finger. Getting that so you can do each layer. But sometimes it may take somebody longer than another. This depending on the experience in my life, it took longer than another. But then I got an amazing counselor. So she went to telling me, you thought you weren't gonna be able to get over that. Look where you are now. And so she had to use that to help me. Oh, you can do this. So you need that. Did that answer your question, Bang?
It did. And I know we can't look at a person and make that judgment call, whether they're trying to work on it or not. But sometimes I am mindful to think that some people are just going through the motions, or they're giving out fluff by saying just to kind of offset dealing with it themselves. Yeah.
They'll say, I gave them, I just won't deal with them anymore. But they had.
And I think
I'm talking about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just think personally, because I think it's hard to have love without forgiveness. And I think that it's impossible to show love and forgiveness when you consciously avoid.
Right. But even in that, we can't make those judgment calls because we never know what they're talking about, what we accuse, because some people are struggling because they love.
Yeah.
Struggling because they do love.
Right.
And they have a hard time with processing what was done or what was said. I can't believe you betrayed me. I can't believe you lied on me like that. It's because they do love them. Sometimes that's what's causing them even more of a struggle.
So counseling is good for forgiveness.
Counseling is good for the issues that's attached to the unforgiveness. Yes. So stand up to get you some counseling, brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we get ready to close out now, Nate, I'm gonna let you get ready for your wisdom nugget to leave us with.
Okay.
But I want to share in this topic of forgiveness, the greatest forgiveness story that I've ever witnessed.
Come on.
In my human life. And I always have to, so I kind of ducked away for a moment so that I can type and get permission from the person to share their story. So I'm not going to use their name, but I'm just going to use the true scenario that occurred. So they gave me permission to use the scenario, to use what really happened. So there's a man, a friend of mine, her father found Christ at a very late age in his life. I mean, I knew her. I went to school with her. And, so I interacted. I knew about her father. Well, long story short, he found the Lord. He was always encouraging, talking about the Lord. He wasn't just talking about him. He was being about him. He wanted to see the whole world flipped upside down. That was his character. That's what he exuded. Well, long story short, his son was murdered. Is murdered. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get graphic because the person is listening. And devastating. Only son, my friend's only sibling. And I saw their dad extend the hand of forgiveness to the person that murdered his son, because they did capture him. He went to trial, and he stood in that courtroom and forgave that dude, and did a follow-up by going to visit him on a regular while he was in prison serving time. Wow. I have, and that story there has never left my memory. All I ever known was something that deep. You got to say, okay, it's going to take me a minute. It's going to take some time. But somehow that father, that man that I knew, my friend's father, was able to model something that I have never in my life saw duplicated or ministered from what the Word of God talks about. And it still impacts me to this day. We're talking, that was probably 25 years ago. Powerful story.
It's so able to. That was a good one. It's so much more we can get into, but yes.
Yeah. And I want to thank that person for giving me permission to share that. So, okay. With that being said, heavy topic.
Heavy.
I put the pressure on you to close us out with our wisdom nugget. But before we leave, I want to thank our guests.
Thank you
so much,
Jeanena Wilson, for just being so powerful and bringing the knowledge and being so theatrical and animated.
Yes.
This is definitely one that we got to replay and go back and listen.
Yeah.
That's amen.
Yeah. Amen. Okay, Brother Nate.
So before we do that, can we get the information that how people can get in touch with you, how they can find you?
Oh yeah.
URJ Wilson 10. You as an umbrella, R like Robert, J like John, Wilson 10 @gmail.com.
Can you put that on the screen?
Now, if I get a whole lot of, I am not in social media world. Sometimes I feel like it's the devil. So,
oh man, not sometimes social media.
Sometimes, but so
the old school email still works.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yes,
URJ Wilson Wilson 10. URJ Wilson 10 @gmail.com.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is it on me, Ray?
Hey.
Yes.
Got the nugget?
Okay.
You have your solo, bro.
I got the nugget. There are more planes in the sea than there are submarines in the sky. Think about that.
Say that again.
There are more airplanes in the sea than there are submarines in the sky.
Got it. That is our wisdom.
I think that's plain to see.
Got it.
Oh yeah.
Listen, fellas. First of all, thank you to all who joined in tonight to listen, to watch. We appreciate you so much. That is the information for Jeanena Wilson. I just flashed up on the screen. We'll leave it in our comments so you can kind of go back and check it out if you listen to this podcast throughout the week. Again, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to our guests. Brothers, it's always great for me to share a screen across from you all. As always, definitely. Love you guys much and look forward to doing it again next week.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Have a good. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.